Hi, Natalie.
Hey, Scotty.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
How
And
was your
we're
weekend?
back.
Did you have a good weekend?
Oh, awesome weekend.
What'd you do all weekend?
Well, we did some gardening and rest around the house and went to a concert. So that was cool.
Concert. It's finally feeling like spring here in Texas. We've had like kind of hot and cold, but it's
Great.
been pretty consistently warm all weekend. And I'm grateful for that, although also a little annoyed because I have to go to New York this week for New York Auto Show. I'm so excited about New York Auto Show. However, it's going to be in the 50s.
Oof.
I
It's not
know.
spring yet.
That's okay. Nobody goes to New York for the weather. I'm going to New York for the great weather, says no one ever. But
That's
what
true.
I am excited about is New York Auto Show, the tours that we're giving. And if you haven't seen the tours, you can go to newyorkautoshow.com, guided tours. And I'll be giving tours. Our friend Motorhead Mama Amelia Dalgard is giving tours. Kelly, the car mom, you can find her podcast here on our podcast channel, is giving tours. A lot of good friends of ours, Sophian Bay from Redline Reviews, Tim Estradal from Pickup Truck and SUV Talk is giving tours. Our friend Abbas Wahab, again, get his podcast here, is going to be leading tours. And that's the one I am totally tagging along on, his tours, because that guy is so funny
Yes.
and just the nicest person. So nice and just so genuine. And you meet these people who are like they're all great and funny and fun and warm and cozy and irreverent and whatever on their social and their media. And then you meet them in person and they're like too shy to speak or they're too full of themselves to want to hear what they have to say. He's none of that. He's just a super nice guy. Who else is on our tour? Eddie X, who used to be part of Vehicle Virgins and then went out on his own and has an amazing YouTube channel and Instagram. And my friend Jose Carlos de Meyer, who will be leading tours in Espanol. So for the first
Great.
time, we're so excited to finally have tours in Spanish. It's
Yes.
something we've toyed with the idea in the past. We've never been able to pull it off. And this year, for the first time, we're doing tours in Spanish. So I'm super excited about his tours. Amelia Dalgard, I think I mentioned her. Aaron Gold from Motor Trend. Paul Eisenstein from Headlight News. And I know, oh, and Tom Volk, our friend Tom Volk from Driven with Tom Volk on YouTube is also leading tours. He also is a New York Times contributor and all around knowledgeable car expert. And he does a really great tour. He actually does tours at other auto shows too. And so I'm excited to be a part of this group. I'm honored to be a part of this group to lead tours at New York Auto Show. And as one of the guys said, I guess I'll be getting my steps in because the days that I walk around the New York Auto Show, I routinely walk about 10 miles. So when I give a tour alone can be like 2 miles of walking. So it is definitely get your steps in indoors where the weather is quite lovely. Even if it's not so ripe outside, it is really nice indoors. And so that's what I'm prepping for this week. So the New York Auto Show starts on April 3rd is when it opens to the public. April 1st and 2nd, there are behind the scenes tours and VIP tours. And all those tickets are available over at New York Auto Show. We'll put a link below so anybody who wants to get in on that can get in on that. So now I've been chatting for a while. Who are our guests today, Natalie?
Then we have Courtney DeLee, Jen Morand, and RoShelle Salinas.
And what did they have in common?
I noticed that women entered the auto industry from maybe non-traditional, like they didn't see themselves in auto originally, and they found themselves in it, loved it. And it's really cool what they're doing.
They are leading auto shows and auto show efforts. So how
Yep.
great that we're talking about auto shows and these ladies really give us so much inspiration. They are part of a new initiative called the Automotive Experience Alliance. And the idea behind the AEA is to enhance the experiences that people have at auto shows currently and then to build more experiences around across the calendar. The Chicago Auto Show, which is led by Jen Morand, who's been a guest on this podcast before, is that they actually have a second event in the summer, which is a drive event. They call it Drive Chicago. And this is not just cars on display, but all the cars that you can go drive. So it's a massive test drive weekend. Courtney DeLee is from the San Antonio Auto Show, which they say is the largest truck show that takes place every year. I do think the Minneapolis Auto Show would argue with that because they have a ton of trucks, and so does the State Fair of Texas Auto Show is almost all trucks. I guess San Antonio has more, whereas like at the State Fair of Texas, it's like pickup trucks and SUVs. So, and in Minnesota, I know they have a lot of trucks there, but that also tends to be recreational. A lot of recreational as people are, thinking about towing a boat to one of their 10,000 lakes for the summer and that kind of thing. So trucks are such a big business, and that's something that San Antonio really knows a lot about. And then RoShelle Salinas from the Houston Auto Show. Did you know that Houston is the fourth largest city in the country? And they have the fourth largest auto show in the country behind New York, LA, and Chicago. Houston is the fourth largest. And I will say it takes all day to walk that show too, so I'm not surprised. And they have a lot of outdoor stuff going on because their show is in January, and it's really easy to set up outdoor ride and drives, and they'll every now and then they'll haul in 1,000,000 pounds of dirt or whatever you call it, yards of dirt, and build off-road tracks in the parking lot right there at the energy center. Yeah. So it's a pretty cool show. They have a lot to work with. They have a lot of possibility there. And honestly, I would say if they did a show indoors in July or August, I'd totally be there, because July and August in Houston is hot and humid, and you need that indoor AC. And so that's where I would find myself indoors in August in Houston. They haven't done that yet, but that is something that could very potentially be on their horizon as these ladies think about what it takes to build the auto show of the future. Should we go to the conversation?
Yeah, let's roll it.
I cannot tell you how excited I am to be here with these ladies today. It's not typical that we do this podcast with a group, but in this case, it's necessary because these women are such a force behind changes that are going on in the automotive world and things that you might have seen recently in terms of automotive experience. Think of auto shows, think of ride and drives, think of opportunities to get in a car and really poke around, feel the upholstery and get a feel for the steering wheel in your hand, and maybe take a test drive or have a fun experience on a test track, and without the pressure of somebody trying to get you to buy that car. And that, in my opinion, is the holy grail, is to be able to have that independent, objective experience with a car and make the best decision for you without the pressure of having someone trying to sell you that car. And so that has been the beauty of the auto show. But the auto show is in the middle of some very dynamic and fundamental change. And these ladies here are not only part of the group or leading much of that change, but they're also leading that change to make sure that auto shows and automotive experiences get bigger and better, not worse or even go away, which is, I think, one of the things that we're all pretty afraid of, is that auto shows may change dramatically and may not be what they are. So let me introduce you to the group. So first meet Jennifer Morand. She is the president of the Chicago Auto Show, RoShelle Salinas of the Houston Auto Show, and Courtney DeLee from the San Antonio Auto Show. And collectively, they are the Automotive Experience Alliance, or representing the Automotive Experience Alliance. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It is, I will say, It's also a little bit of an old home here because I feel like I've known Courtney. This is my first time meeting Courtney, but Jen and RoShelle I've known for a long time and have watched them build their careers through automotive. So we're excited to talk about that as well as auto shows. But before we get started with my questions, I want each of you to tell us what you do and how you came to this job. Jen, why don't you start?
Well, thank you, Scotty, first of all, for having us on. We're really excited to be here. But yes, I came into this career, interestingly, not thinking I would come into automotive. My background is public relations and media, so not something that was on my radar even in college, but I'm so glad I found this industry, and it's truly my home. And I'm so lucky to be with my wonderful colleagues, RoShelle and Courtney as well, and just inspired daily by the women that are in this industry, but also the men. So it's just a wonderful, wonderful place to be. So I am the president of the Chicago Auto Trade Association that represents 400 plus new car dealers in Chicagoland. But I also have the benefit and the privilege to lead the Chicago Auto Show, which has been a staple for many in Chicago for, gosh, over a century. So it's a tradition in Chicago. So very proud to be part of the industry and to be among very smart colleagues such as yourselves.
And RoShelle, tell us about what you do and how you got to your job.
Yes, I'm RoShelle Salinas, and I also, like many women in automotive, kind of fell into the opportunity. And I got started at an ad agency in public relations like Jennifer, and the auto show was one of our clients. And circumstances and happenstance, build your path sometimes that you don't know where destiny is taking you. And I worked on the auto show for 3 years and had a great experience, but had other clients too. And then I left that agency and I went to work for McDonald's. And I represented the franchisees of the McDonald's Houston market in McDonald's, and had a great time doing that. But then the Houston Auto Dealers Association, who produces the auto show, came to me and they were like, hey, new cars smell way better than French fries. We would like you to come in-house and help us build the auto show and HADA and really help, be a part of our team. And so I took that opportunity, and now I've been here for 12 years and I have worked my way up, and I just became the president of the Houston Auto Show, and will hopefully lead the Auto Dealers Association one day too. So it's been a great journey. Working with the auto dealers is, like working with franchisees, because that is what they are. Having that experience really fed well into what I do today, and it's such a rewarding environment. It really is.
Thank you. And Courtney?
Thank you for having me. I am about to embark on my 26th auto show in November. I fell into this industry actually in high school. I worked for a Lincoln dealer and a Ford dealer. And then in college at night, I worked for another Lincoln dealer, at the same time interning for the NBC affiliate here in San Antonio. So I worked in media for a while, about 6 or 7 years, and someone came to me and said, they really need help over here. Do you think this is something you'd like to take on? And I said, I'll try it. I've been in and out of the industry since high school. Why not? And so I've been there ever since. So it's a great career for women, not only in the dealership, but at the auto show, in the association. And I love to see every aspect of the industry come together in one place.
So there's a lot of collective knowledge here, a lot of history. We've all seen through our careers, we've seen the auto show change. This is a 125-year-old business. They've been, I think the story is that the first one occurred in 1900 in New York City. And they've gone through a lot of changes, but what else needs to change with auto shows? Where do you see things going?
So I can jump in on this one. I mean, there's something to be said about auto shows being around for over a century. I mean, that just shows the institution and the traditions and the experiences that have been built with these shows over the years. But to your point, Scotty, they need to evolve, and they can't just be doing the same thing every year. And I think that that's really the benefit of what the Automotive Experience Alliance brings to shows. And really, it's a collective group with like-minded individuals. We have over 20 auto shows within Automotive Experience Alliance, but we're helping to bring innovation and new ideas to the auto shows. For example, building new experiences within the event, It could look like anything from hosting a run through the auto show to a craft beer night at the end of the show, and many other, charitable components as well. So we try to find the different touch points that reach different audiences and then bring those best practices to other auto shows.
And so, Courtney, your show focuses a lot on cars and trucks. I mean, you have that in the name of the show is trucks. And so where do you see things going with your show, and especially with your dealers and with the consumers who come to your show?
Yes, so truck capital of Texas, right here in San Antonio. And for the consumer to be able to see and touch and feel at the show and continuing to bring those experiences to the show to where they know they don't have to go from dealer to dealer, and being able to experience that at the show, I think would be very helpful.
And RoShelle, talk about experiences from the perspective of the Houston Auto Show. You do your show in January, and one of the enviable things about your show is the weather's usually great for driving outside. Not all shows have that advantage, but you are able to do a lot of ride and drives and experiences outdoors. Talk about how that has changed your show and what you see on the horizon.
I like to say that auto shows are the opportunity for the automotive industry to stop talking at customers and give them the chance to really experience the vehicle. And that really comes to light in our auto show in Houston because we do have so many ride and drive opportunities. So this year we had the privilege to have Camp Jeep and the Ram Track as part of our indoor experiences. And then outside we had more than 5 different brands on display where people could do street test drives. Plus we had Polaris there doing off-road adventure track. And then Ram brought a monster truck. So people can really see the experience. You get in one SUV and one brand, you go to the next brand, and you can really decide right then what you like and don't like of your whole experience.
That's so fantastic that you're able to do that. I will say that those moments where you can just go from one car to another and really test them out and feel them move, feel them do their thing it's so eye-opening. And I feel like that's sometimes things that you don't get, especially as Courtney said, like going dealer to dealer, you just forget, like, oh yeah, what did I drive last week? What was that like?
Right. And I mean, like Jen is also like us. We've got about 200 dealers. They've got 400 dealers. So if you're driving across a large metropolis to test drive vehicles, this makes it, a very convenient way to have the full marketplace in one spot.
So let's talk about the AEA, the Automotive Experience Alliance. This is a relatively new group. You are all on the committee and have been pushing this effort through. Jen is the president of this group. Why did the automotive industry or auto show industry need something like the AEA? What's the purpose?
So the driving force, Scotty, is really stemming from the need from the manufacturers and our exhibitors. They are our core customers, and they're asking for shows to better collaborate in terms of data and attendance, just the transparency that auto shows provide. For many years, there was some misinformation, I think, reported over the years, maybe some trust that was lost. So what this group is really all about is transparency. Our first core initiatives were to hire a third-party auditor. So all of our shows are audited by this third party. Again, that's the attendance number is what they provide us in the audit, and that's the number that we'll provide to them. Secondly is benchmark data. So manufacturers said to us, how do we understand the data that's coming from Houston or San Antonio or Chicago? Because all the question sets are different and we can't benchmark against anything. And it's, one person sends out an email survey, the other does intercept with brand ambassadors, and it just is not consistent. So the other thing that we did was hire one company to do intercept surveys, to send out e-blasts, to poll our attendees and ask the same question sets amongst all the 20 plus shows that are a part of the AEA. And that just helps manufacturers benchmark that data from show to show, so that they know, they can better interpret it. And that's just the start of it. We have so far to go, and this is really exciting because we're still in our infancy stage, but we've officially launched. We're in our second show cycle now. So we released some data and insights last year, once the auto show season, if you will, concludes, which we really say is, late spring, before the show cycle starts up in late summer and early fall again. And so now we're almost through our second show cycle. So we'll have some really interesting data I'm anticipating to share just in very, very shortly here once this auto show season concludes.
And so what do you hope that consumers will take away from adding this AEA alliance or all of these efforts to the industry? It's a whole, as you talked about, it's another layer of data, it's more transparency, it's more information. But what's the impact going to be for consumers?
It's a great question, because right now we're really B2B focused, because it's, through the manufacturers and through our affiliate program and our media, et cetera. However, that said, the foundation starts there. I mean, that's where we really need to build from. And, you have to have your house in order to be able to then have that trickle effect to the consumer. So in my opinion, it has to start with us internally. And once we continue to build that strong show, that core, transparency between all of us, and, even with the experiences that we're offering, again, trying to share best practices and share those ideas among shows, a strong Chicago shows, a strong Houston show, a strong, San Antonio show, et cetera, all the wonderful shows that we have in AEA, and just help one another. I think that's what's going to trickle down to the consumers, and they're going to see that in terms of experiences and having that better heightened consumer experience whichever market they're in across all the auto shows.
And so what does experience mean to you? I want you to each answer this. When it comes to an auto show, or when it comes to automotive, actually, what does experience mean to you?
I think that the experience part is that today's traditional advertising is so much screen related, right? It's either on your being influenced through social media, or on your computer analyzing, or watching a video of attributions of a vehicle on YouTube and someone talking about the traits. And experience is where I get to physically be a part of the automotive experience. If that's sitting in the car, if that's testing my car seat in the back seat, if it's driving it. It's not screen related. And that's what really makes a dynamic experience for someone at an auto show.
And what other experiences do you hope to add to your shows? What other experiences can be brought into an auto show that will really help consumers to make a better decision or to be more engaged?
So we have a variety of experiences to offer for our attendees. So years ago, we introduced the EV track. So that we're kind of seeing a shift in the industry with the incentives going away. However, that said, we still incorporated that into our show, but we also featured a gas-powered track indoors as well. We received approval to do that, which was the first time this year. We also have outdoor ride and drives, just like RoShelle mentioned. It's a little bit different of a climate in Chicago in February than it is in Houston in January. However, that said, the manufacturers do love it, and also the consumers, because they get to feel the real world experience of driving in the snow and how the vehicles handle. So it's a great experience for consumers because, like you said, they're jumping behind the wheel, test driving back to back. We had 8 different brands outside this year, over 11 brands inside for the tracks. And then Ford had their Bronco track, Jeep had their Camp Jeep experience. So tons, it's like a roller coaster indoors, and people wait in line. It's amazing, 2 hours to experience these tracks. But they don't mind because there's so much to look at and to see and to do at the show. But also we've introduced some experiences such as the Chi-Town Alley. This is something that was really an inspiration. My team and I had the opportunity to travel to Tokyo, and we brought back some of that Japanese domestic influence culture to the Chicago Auto Show. Think of the Tokyo drifts, the Fast and Furious, so all the customization that you can add to your vehicles. And there's such a huge Chicago car culture that it was almost untapped, and we brought all of that inside the Chicago Auto Show. We had Sung Kang, who is Fast and Furious actor, actually help us debut that, along with Rutledge Wood, who was just fantastic. And so they really brought that experience to life at the Chicago Auto Show this year, and it's something that we hope to continue to tap into. But it was noted that the manufacturers also like that because it brought a different type of consumer to the show. And while you can argue that those aren't necessarily new vehicles, they're going to have to buy a new vehicle if they want to upfit their vehicle to customize. So again, there is that connection there because we do represent new car dealers, but there's a case to be made for that. But that was the new feature this year. Last year we introduced an overlanding exhibit, which is all about that adventure-seeking outdoor lifestyle. So that was another large component this year as well in our show.
You also had something else that I thought, particularly thought that was valuable to consumers who are thinking about the holistic ownership experience. It's not just the car, it's not just the driver in the driver's seat, but it's the whole car. And you have a lot of great experiences at your show, but it was the BritX exhibit. You actually had a car seat reveal this year. Talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was a fantastic opportunity. And thanks again, Scotty, for the introduction to that. They were a fantastic partner. They unveiled their new car seat. Believe it or not, we had calls, we passed it to the team. We had calls coming into our general Chicago Auto Show line saying, what was that car seat I saw on the news? Where can I find it? So truly, I mean, if you're launching vehicles or you're launching a car seat, it all relates to the auto industry. We had car seat safety demos. People were actually trying to figure out how to fit, like RoShelle mentioned earlier, how it actually applies to their lifestyle. They would try to fit these car seats in these vehicles and see if that would be a fit for them. So it's all about the whole experience, the whole ecosystem of the auto shows that truly deliver that ROI for manufacturers and for really all the partners that were involved. So that BritX was a great ad this year.
It was so cool to see car seats on the floor and have this really important conversation mesh with the other important conversation about the new cars, the news, the innovations, the what's new in automotive, but also to remember, we've got to remember those who have little ones in car seats. That's the most important thing you do. The car is important, but the car seat's important too. And I always feel like we think of them as two separate things, and we shouldn't. We should think of them as a singular, interconnected thing. And having those different experiences and different activities and different exhibits on a single auto show floor really helps to bring that together. Courtney, talk about what experience means to you in the San Antonio Auto Show. How do you define that?
So I know one of the things we do in San Antonio is aftermarket. So all the products, car seats, wheels, tires, etc., but also lenders. The process can start talking at the show while you're looking. Insurance, the whole aspect of owning a car can be found pretty much at the auto show. For one, our show was in November, and I purchased a new car in December after being at the auto show. Sat in a car I never would have thought I would have even gone to look at, and ended up buying it right after our show. So for one, not only do we produce it, but I also own a car and shop the same way everybody else does. But this time I got to see and sit in something I never thought I would have, just driving down the road. So the whole aspect from lending to insurance to all the aftermarket products, and not to mention sitting in it itself.
And that, honestly, that is, I think, the magic of an auto show is to just, I always say that it's like to get in and poke around. You look around and you say, what does this do? What does that do? Oh, look at this glove box. Look at this. What's in the armrest? And, and you might even feel kind of silly asking those questions or looking at the paint chips or, the paint options on a car. But you walk away and it really is what impresses you. That's what you leave with. Like, wow, I was surprised, like how huge that center console was under the armrest. Like, I'm going to not let anybody put anything in there because we'll never get it back. So let me ask the question now, thinking about the experiences that we have in our auto shows now. And Jen, your show you've done a summertime event with EVs, and there are, the monster trucks and the other things and that we do throughout the year. We do a lot of planning all year long for our shows. What do you see the future? What do you see on the horizon for the future of automotive experiences at auto shows?
So I think we've all witnessed this. It's all about the experience, the butts in seats. Then that's the famous phrase that the industry loves to use, but it's so true, because once you actually you're sitting behind the wheel, you're taking that test drive, or you're riding along indoors, you experience a vehicle and you're more likely, as research has shown, to purchase that vehicle or consider it down the road. So definitely all about the experiences. You mentioned the summer EV event where this is a little bit kind of breaking our news a little too soon, but we're actually expanding this year, and not just EVs, but it'll be called Chicago Drives. And so it's going to be all powertrains. And it's all about putting consumers behind the wheel in these vehicles, and just driving on local roads. So, we found another touch point outside of the Chicago Auto Show, but it makes sense because it's a totally different time of year and it's all about the test drives. However, I do see that auto shows will continue to evolve. It's unfortunate because some shows are constrained with their venue. So that's where you really have to consider it's maybe not because they don't want to, it's because they have venue constraints. But the more that we can figure out ways to put people in the vehicles, I think is really the future. And we're seeing that, and you've been to all those events, Scotty, the expos, any expo, EVs or overlanding, but really the auto show should own that. And that's what we're saying is we're automotive. We feature all of the vehicles, and so we need to own that space. And I think a lot of us have done a really good job of trying to take that back. And the last thing I'll note on that is the auto show being dead, and that phrase it's all about the media preview, and that's what really the people are talking about. Because you come to my show or Houston or San Antonio, and you're going to see a vibrant crowd. You're going to see engaged shoppers. And one of my favorite things to do is to go down to the show floor and talk to people. What surprised you? What did you and you hear this time and time again. A consumer is coming to look at Toyota, for example, and then they end up really liking a Kia. Or they came looking for BMW and they're in a Chevy. I mean, completely different from where they started. So it really has the opportunity to influence consumers.
What do you see, RoShelle?
Just to add on to Jen's point, one of my favorite customers that I saw at our auto show one year literally had a clipboard with a printed Excel sheet of all the features that she wanted in a vehicle, and she was going from space to space, brand to brand, checking, they don't have this, they do have this, and she was making a full elimination with her clipboard, and I was just like, you are the ideal auto show.
Love that. Oh my God. I love that so much. So much.
That's awesome.
I think along with the innovation, it's continuing tradition in new fun ways as well, and thinking outside of the box. I think just like the Britics partnership for the Chicago show, we actually partnered with the Houston Boat Show. And so half of our show is all about the marine aspect, and it collaborates really well because you've got to have a vehicle to tow your boat. You've got to have that vehicle to get it into the water. And so thinking of new ways to elevate the shows and bring in those type of partnerships, I think is going to be important moving forward, and continuing some of that collaboration. Some in that same light, I would love to add a towing experience, to our show. Can you get because when you first buy a boat and you've never had a boat and you got to tow something, it's a lesson to learn on how to back up a boat or a trailer.
It's a whole thing.
So if we could add, experiences like that to our event where you can get a towing certificate and say that you learned how to tow at the auto show, I think are things that, we all need to look for in our events and try to grow things like that.
That's such a great idea, because you're right. People, they go and they buy all this expensive equipment, and sadly, with so many car purchases, people buy the car and they get it home and they don't know how to use something, and they call the dealership and nobody calls them back. And
Yeah.
I talk to people all the time who are so frustrated because they don't know how to use a feature or how to find a feature, and they actually end up finding us or finding our videos and our social media that help them out. But it's definitely a big disconnect. So being able to teach people on site how these different things work, I think there's so much value in that. And so talk about the experience, about what you see on the horizon, Courtney. You're over there shaking your head.
It has evolved so from when I started in the 90s to now. I just can't even tell you how different it is. We brought in RVs and motorhomes. So anything that will get the entire family together at our event with multiple things to do with the cars and the trucks and the test drives. We actually stage our ride and drives indoors, and they actually drive out the building. So that's a new experience we've done in the last couple of years. So I just think stuff for the kids, stuff for the family, and all in one place so they can experience these things together and shop at the same time. So
I love the RV, having an RV experience at an auto show. It's so funny to watch everybody line up. All these people will line up to walk into a tiny little space and just see all the
exactly.
stuff, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's almost like that dollhouse effect, like, oh, it's tiny. I have to go see how tiny it is.
Right.
But it always cracks me up. It's like, I get it. I totally get it. I want to see it too. But it always cracks me up, all the people who will line up to go into a really tiny space and look at it.
Yeah, and it was crazy. Our lines for a ride and drive merged in, kind of snaked through the RV lines to get through, and it was crazy. But if you've never been in one, I mean, you want to go in and look because they're
Yeah,
fancy. They're fancy.
and they are, and there's some really great innovative ideas too. That business is innovating quite a lot, and we're seeing this in companionship with EVs, because EVs propose a different challenge to towing an RV, or a big toy. And
Right.
so we're starting to see some changes in RVs based on EVs, how they perform, but also how they're designed. The whole design concept is changing as well. So I think it's going to be actually a pretty exciting future for RVs based on design and electrification. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit here, pun intended, and let's talk about how we have, as women, impacted the industry. As I look around, I see more and more women in leadership roles in automotive. Clearly, here in the automotive auto show business, there are a lot of women rising to higher levels of leadership. How have women changed the automotive industry?
I can chime in. I think it's really interesting, and I didn't kind of dive into the full history, but this is my maybe 15th or 16th auto show with the Chicago Auto Show. So I haven't seen as much as Courtney has seen, but I've seen a lot in that time. And it has shifted. When I first started in the industry, there were not many people that looked like me. There are still not, I guess in terms of the automotive industry, but it is shifting, it is changing. But I think that females just have a different approach in many ways, in terms of how they would promote auto shows and how they would promote these experiences. We talked about Britics, and again, this isn't stereotyping, but it's just a different way. It's not maybe talking about the Hemi, or horsepower, it's not a lot of flex. It's more just like practicality, I think, and in real life circumstances and scenarios. So, and then, in terms of the evolving industry, Scotty, I applaud you because, gosh, it was, 12 years ago now? Are we almost, what is it? Or maybe not so much. No, 10 years is next year, because we said we were going to do. So 10 years ago, we founded What Drives Her, and it was a way to applaud females in the industry and bring to stage and to awareness all that they do in so many different roles. And it's not just leadership roles, but it's Rising Star Awards, it's media, because everybody influences this industry. And so I really do think, and I would love to believe that did have an impact on the greater industry, because it's just had so much success over the years. So I just love that, and I think that many of the women who have received awards or who have just been part of the program appreciate it. But I do think that it's nice to see different females in leadership roles. But I do have to say, we have wonderful, I do certainly don't want to speak for everybody else, but wonderful male colleagues that help champion us to these roles as well. So it's truly a wonderful industry, and like I said, I could never imagine being in any other industry.
I do feel like with the What Drives Her Awards and program at the Chicago Auto Show, and then with this podcast, which is also called What Drives Her, based on the content section on A Girl's Guide to Cars, we do have a career section where we interview women who are changing the automotive industry from the inside. And that was called What Drives Her, and the name has really grown over the years. And I truly believe, and actually do have some data to back this up, that by women talking about their jobs and their role in the automotive industry, and by having some attention to that, whether it's media attention or winning awards or just telling these stories, that other women who are not in the automotive industry have a kinder look towards the automotive world when they start to think about their car, whether it's maintaining their car or buying a new car or selling a car or buying a car for their teenager, whatever it is. Women are buying cars all the time, and they're not super engaged, and they don't necessarily love it because the industry has never felt like it's for them. But it's for us. And so I feel like it's important to extend that idea that it's for you too. And here are the other women who are here. Talk with us about this. Mm-hmm. And so I applaud you, Jen, for having that idea 10 years ago. And I thank you for including us, for including me, and for including A Girl's Guide to Cars in that effort. I think women are definitely making a lot of changes and bringing a lot of influence, a lot of impact to automotive. So RoShelle, I'm going to toss that question to you. Where do you see the impact that women are having in automotive?
We know from the data you're probably referencing that females are a big influence on the buying decision. And bringing in women into roles through all levels of the automotive industry, from being the salesperson to the finance director, it adds that feminine finesse to really support someone when they want to come in and buy a vehicle and not feel intimidated, right? And I think that really makes the difference for the industry as well. And we bring inclusivity. So at any level that you're coming in, just having our own motherly intuition or the female inclusiveness, it helps people feel more comfortable. And that's something that I think more women in the industry are definitely providing. And like Jen, we've had this conversation at many conferences that it makes us smile to see the new women in the room coming up and being interested and wanting to learn more about automotive, and realizing that this was something many of us fell into, but if we had known, we would have chosen it because it is such a great industry.
Courtney, what do you think? Tell me what you think.
Times have changed. There are very, very few women in the industry when I first started. In fact, the only place you would see a woman is in the office. Now we see them on the service drive. Now we see them in the showrooms. Now we see them upstairs in the executive offices and in the body shop. So I think just like with everything else, it's evolved. And thank goodness we're here and we're welcomed and we're strong, and we do lead. We lead and we bring that, like RoShelle said, that sense of finesse to the whole process.
I'm going to say, I think the one of the greatest advantages of having so many women, especially in the auto show world and auto dealerships, yes, you see more women. I'm not sure that they've impacted the process quite as much as they have other places. When it comes to, I spend a lot of time with manufacturers and reviewing their cars and talking to their engineers and their product planners. And I meet a lot of women who recognize, like, I need someplace to put a trash bag in the back that doesn't spill. Because my kids the first thing they do is they get in the car and they knock over the trash can. And then guess who ends up cleaning that up at the end of the day? So I feel like on the product side, they've had some great impact. But at the auto show, for so long, it was the booth babes. And I feel like for a long time, I didn't want to go to any kind of show where it was the audience was mostly male, because it was just women on display in short shorts and knee-high boots and tube tops. And and it was not, and that's just insulting. It's not fun. It doesn't make me want to buy a car. It actually makes me think, I don't want to buy a car. I don't really care. I'll just take whatever car my parents think I should buy, or I'll just let my husband buy a car and I'll drive it. It's not fair because I'm still paying for it, and it still is a significant portion of our household budget. And when you sit down and you look at, gosh, I'm driving this car that I hate, and I could drive this car that I love. But women have such an important role in automotive in this industry. We are, and I'll share that data. Women buy or influence 85% of all cars. They outright buy 65% of all cars, and they influence the purchase of another 20%. That's a really valuable customer to ignore. any business that ignores that customer is ignoring that customer and they're going to be ignoring that customer not for very long because they're going to go out of business. You can't ignore a customer like that.
No.
And we all know that, but you guys, you ladies have been part of this change of bringing more women into not only into the business the business side of the business, but also into the show, into the cars, into the experiences, and empowering them to feel great about this as a customer. Thanks for joining us for this conversation about AEA. You do have a website, the Automotive Experience Alliance, for anybody who wants more information on that. And if you do want more information, go to that site. You'll find Jen and RoShelle and Courtney's photos, along with the whole group of leaders and all the auto shows that are a part of the Alliance. And you can find more information there. All right, ladies, thanks so much for joining us today. I appreciate your time.
Thank
Thank you for having us.
Have a great day.
They are so inspiring, these ladies, and it's amazing to me that they did not really see themselves as working in automotive, and yet not only are they working automotive, but they're setting the stage for the future. What do you see as the most optimistic part of our future after listening to these ladies talk?
Well, it's exciting. It gives more pathways for all women like me, like didn't initially start in auto. It gives like a voice to what we bring to the space, right? Like you can have new ideas, exciting experiences, and get more butts in the seat to help sell the cars, right? So
Yeah.
just full circle moment.
Yeah.
Exciting.
You know, I've always thought that if we can connect to our cars at the purchase, through the purchase journey in a more meaningful way, that we will love our cars more. And then when we recognize that, you know, old Bessie just is not serving her purpose anymore, it'll be easier for us to move on and find that next new car. I feel like people are so reluctant. Once they are comfortable in their car, they're so reluctant to make a change, to get a new one. They only kind of think about it when something truly happens, like it breaks down, it's not worth fixing. They have an accident, they have another child, and they just can't fit everybody in the car anymore. It's like those major life changes are what inspire us to get a new car. And you know, there's so many great cars, there's so much great technology, and there's so many good reasons to think about getting a new car that we hang on to our cars maybe too long. And, you know, 10 years, 12 years, that's a long time to own a single thing. I mean, you don't own a computer that long, you don't own a phone that long. I hope you don't own carry the same handbag for that long, right? And yeah, and you don't wear your shoes that long. So, you know, changing your car or you know, upgrading into a new car or finding a car that fits your life a little bit better, maybe that gets better fuel economy or that has some a hybrid powertrain so that you're not even using fuel some of the time. These are advantages that I feel like people don't understand what they could be doing because they haven't asked the question. And I really hope, that's my long way of saying, I really hope organizations like the AEA will help us to get to that more empowered ownership journey rather than just sticking with what we know because we're afraid to do something different.
Exactly. And with auto shows being around for like over 100 years, right? Or, you know, first one, it's like things have changed, and so should the experience. And like for me, going to an auto show was really cool because you don't have any pressure. You can test and press everything and immerse yourself, have your whole family sit in, bring your car seat, and truly understand like, oh, this could work or this is not going to work. And having those aha moments too, driving them on those indoor and outdoor experiences is just everything. Because you're like, oh, I didn't know I loved this. I need this.
You know, she said, Jen Morand said that they will have a lot of data, much more data, and more statistics coming out of their auto shows. And that's the first thing. And you know what I would really love to know? And Jen, I hope you're listening because I'm asking now. I would love to know if a person who's surveyed comes to the car the car show with a specific car in mind that they're going to shop, and then they're going to shop the competitors. How many of them actually either walk away thinking something different or buy something different? How many people have an opinion that's shifted by their auto show experience? Anecdotally, I hear it all the time. I came to buy a Nissan Pathfinder and I ended up getting a Nissan Armada, or I came to buy a Nissan Armada and I ended up with a Nissan Pathfinder. And because they realize, oh, this third row is not as big as I thought it was, or it's bigger than I thought it was, or once I got into the car, I realized it's too big for me and I'm not comfortable driving in, my narrow driveway or narrow roads in my neighborhood in this big SUV, and I really need something smaller. So I think that there's people, you kind of see things. It's like you see this product on Amazon, or you see a video of a product like on Instagram or YouTube, and then you order it and you're like, oh, it's this big. I thought it was this big. It's this big. Yeah. I mean, happened to me before. And sometimes it's, sometimes they just tell you it's 10 ounces and they send the one that's 2. But sometimes you're like, oh, and you go back and look at it and you're like, oh yeah, I didn't realize that was a 2-ounce bottle, not a 10-ounce bottle. And so you can't, as much research as we do online, nothing replaces the in-person experience, just nothing.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, Natalie, thank you so much for joining me today as my co-host on What Drives Her, the podcast from A Girl's Guide to Cars. I'm Scotty Reese, your host, and our editor is Steph Howard, music by Envato Elements. Please subscribe to us here or wherever you get your podcasts. Please also sign up for our newsletter so you get all the news every week in your inbox. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you next time at What Drives Her, the podcast from A Girl's Guide to Cars. Thanks, everybody.